You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
This is the Undisputed Wrestling Show. NWA President Bruce Tharpe is joining us. I have one more question for you, Bruce, if I may, before I let Zane Paisley wrap things up for us. What prompted you to become an on-screen character in New Japan?
That was a decision made by New Japan.
Oh, okay.
That was a decision that made by New Japan. What happened is they invited me over there as the National Wrestling Alliance president, to accompany Rob Conway, and they asked me to do some interviews while I was there. So I simply told the people why we were there. We were there to prove that the National Wrestling Alliance is the best. I mean, we were here to prove that we are the number one wrestling organization in the world today, and we are in New Japan Pro Wrestling, to beat their best wrestlers and prove that Rob Conway is the world heavyweight champion and he's the number one wrestler on the earth. And they didn't like that, and they started to boo me, and they started to boo me more and started to boo me more. And the wrestling office started to know that. I mean, I started to go back to the dressing room, and the Japanese office would say, "Hey, man, you got heat." I'm like, "Well, I guess so." And so they, I just thought, I know how to develop that. I've been around some of the best heat seekers in the business, from Ivan Koloff to Mr. Saito to Pat Patterson. And so I've seen them do that. So I just started to kind of work it a little bit, and the people just started to boo me more and started to boo me more. And so the character started to sort of develop on its own. And in fact, when I first went over there, they instructed me. They basically said, "Look, we want you to do a promo, but we want you to do sort of a heelish type promo." And I speak a little Japanese because I had a Japanese girlfriend when I was in college, in undergraduate school in Tampa. I had a Japanese girlfriend for about 3.5 years. And in fact, the first time I went to Japan was in 1982 with her for a wedding. I was in Japan for about 6 weeks. And I was fortunate enough to work for Giant Baba while I was in Tokyo. Ric Flair was there. Stan Hansen was there. Dick Slater was there. Saw a lot of guys that I knew from Florida in Japan, which is really cool. So when they asked me to do this promo, I decided to throw in some Japanese. So I just said, "Konnichiwa Nihonjin," which means hello, Japanese. Very sarcastic. And in Japanese, I will say, Bruce Tharpe desu, which means pretty much my name is Bruce Tharpe. And then I would say, "Watashi wa National Wrestling Alliance Shacho, wakarimasu ka?" And that means I am the National Wrestling Alliance president. Understand? Very sarcastic to the Japanese people. And they don't like to be talked down to. And that particular catchphrase sort of caught on. And I don't know where it came from. I just said it. But when I got over there, the booker, Gato, who's got to be probably, and I've been around all kinds of bookers. I've been around Dusty Rhodes, Dory Funk Jr., J.J. Dillon. I've been around some of the greatest bookers in the world. Gato's probably got to be the best. When I got there, he says, "Oh, yeah, please. Say konnichiwa Nihonjin, please." I'm like, okay. So that's sort of the catchphrase now. I say the same thing every time. I'll say konnichiwa Nihonjin, hello Japanese, and in fact now they've got Bruce Tharpe t-shirts now that they're selling that say konnichiwa Nihonjin, and wakarimasu ka, do you understand? And I've now noticed that when I do and it's like the same thing now. They want me to say, it's kind of like, The Rock has the same thing that he says every time.
Right.
That's what they want me to do when I go to Japan. I say the same thing every time. And I've noticed that the Japanese announcers are sort of talking back to me. And I'll go, "Wakarimasu ka?" And they'll go, "Wakarimasen," which means, "No, we don't understand." So it's just, it's sort of caught on. And, I've got some friends over there in Japan that follow the Japanese websites because the Japanese wrestling fans have their own blogs and stuff over there. And one of the, and I suppose the fans over there are smart, smart wrestling fans, because they say things like they enjoy, part of the thing about wrestling is that people like to boo the bad guys and they like to cheer the good guys. It's part of the fun about going to the wrestling matches. So I give them what they want. I give them a character that they can boo, But some of these people on the websites or on these blogs, the Japanese fans will say, "Oh, we know Bruce Tharpe. He's a bad guy in the arenas, but we know he really likes Japan," and things like that. So they've got that on there. So
Bruce, the Wonder Beard
Yes.
Zane Paisley has been very quiet so far this evening, so I'm going to turn it over to him, let him wrap things up. And what you got for Mr. Tharpe tonight, Zane?
Well, once again, it's a great pleasure for us to be able to talk with you this evening. And on the topic of Japan, I love your NWA Christmas card with you carrying or wearing the Ribera jacket. I am such a huge mark for that. I think that's amazing. So good job on that. Now, when you go overseas, or even on in promotions that you're not that familiar with, are you ever afraid that someone's going to go into business for themselves and try to take your very prestigious belt? Have you ever gone to New Japan and worried that they're going to somehow take the NWA championship away from you?
Never. First of all, I have a long-standing relationship with Tiger Hattori. He's the liaison between the New Japan office and the Americans, and it's all about professionalism. And those guys are the utmost of professionals. I mean, they are old school wrestlers from way back, and that's one of the reasons why I think that we get along so well. It's because we understand one another. They also realize that I've got an old school way of thinking, so it's total trust with them and total trust with us. And it's been an amazing, relationship. We were talking about the blogs and whatnot. Twitter is also huge, both in the United States and Japan. And after every match during pay-per-view, some of the wrestlers are on Twitter. One of those guys happens to be a wrestler who I really have a tremendous amount of respect for, and that's Yuji Nagata. I remember when he wrestled here in the United States, and I just loved his style, just a believable, incredible wrestling style, which is what I'm a fan of. And I remember after one of my matches, we came back to the dressing room, and Yuji Nagata was sitting there. He was on Twitter, and he was telling me, "Oh, Japanese fans on Twitter, they like your glasses." So it's funny, it's just really cool, how social media has become such an important part of the business these days, and Twitter and Facebook and whatnot, and the podcasts and whatnot, but it's a great experience going to Japan. Like I said, I've been there 12 times, but the NWA is not only in Japan, we're throughout the United States, and that's really important for us, is really now developing the United States, the domestic market. We want to ask everybody out there that's listening to go to our website, which is www.nwaringside.com, for the latest news, merchandise, and whatnot. We've got a great message board on there that people, debate different things and get into some different discussions. We even had some wrestlers get on there and challenging each other. We're also excited about ProWrestlingTees.com. We're going to be announcing an agreement with them very shortly to handle a lot of our merchandise throughout the United States and worldwide. I'd also like to give a shout out to the Cauliflower Alley Club. We're very active in the Cauliflower Alley. That's going to be taking place this year, April the 12th in Las Vegas. Cauliflower Alley is a great group. They have helped a lot of wrestlers that have needed assistance with regard to surgeries and, living expenses and things like that. So they're a great group. If anybody out there has the opportunity to join us in Las Vegas, do so. We're going to have a lot of the NWA promoters out there. We usually have a little mini NWA promoters meeting. in Vegas
I'll be
during
there.
the Cauliflower Alley Club. You're going to be
Brian
there?
Blair is a good friend of our show too, Bruce, by the way.
Yeah, well, I've known Brian for many years. As you know, both of us are from Tampa, Florida. So
right.
He's a great friend, former Hillsborough County Commissioner, very well-respected man. He's going to do great for the Cauliflower Alley because he just brings a wealth of knowledge and experience, not only as a wrestler, but as an administrator, because he was an elected official in Hillsborough County. He was a Hillsborough County Commissioner for many, many years. So tremendous respect for Brian Blair. Looking forward to seeing him in Las Vegas.
Hey, Bruce, can you also tell us about the NWA magazine?
NWA magazine is very new. It's another thing that came out. Colby Primo out of Houston and Will Keaton spearheaded that. Dan Murphy's very big, helps out. Dr. Jerry Wiseman is another one who contributes a lot to this publication. It's just another way to get the word out about the NWA that we are back, and we're back. And we have visions of becoming bigger than we ever were. And it's a way for fans to get to know us, online. They can also order the magazine in hard copy. But that's just another new aspect of the National Wrestling Alliance that we're very excited about.
And the Morning Star Will Huckabee is featured in the recent magazine, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Will?
Yeah, yes, correct.
Yes, I am. I'm one of the actual NWA breakout stars for 2015. So I'm really excited about that.
Congratulations.
Well, I'll tell you what,
Very
Bruce,
well
we could
deserved.
talk to you for hours upon hours upon hours, but unfortunately I should say, we have another guest.
Well, I'll be happy to come back. I'll be happy to come back anytime. I've enjoyed it.
Every so often and give us updates on the NWA and keep us posted on the progressions and how things are going.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to joining you again in the very near future.
And we're all going to get a Bruce Tharpe Japanese T-shirt. We're going for it.
Love it.
NWA President Bruce Tharpe.
ProWrestlingTees.com. We're going to be making an announcement real soon on that. But yeah, thanks so much for having me on the program.
Thank you very much, sir. Have a great evening.
Thank you, and God bless. Bye-bye.